Here is 5 must-know tips for Borderlands 4 that you're going to thank me for later when I tell you. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about legendary enhancements. Something you might not know about these is that they don't have a dedicated drop source. The reason why is because legendary enhancements are just purple enhancements that have rolled another significant perk or augment, whatever you want to call them. For example, this one here, this flat-off one, has Underdog, and it only has Underdog on here. But as you can see on my legendary one, I have 2 of these different perks, being Bullet Hose and Box Magazine. But as you can see on this blue enhancement, Bullet Hose is a standard perk that rolls on any enhancement. So if you see someone using a legendary enhancement in a build video and you want to know where to get it, the sad news is that as of right now, when this is being recorded, you cannot. There is no dedicated drop source, and the only way to really go after them is world drop farming. So now you know how legendary enhancements work in Borderlands 4, and let's move on to the next tip. Now, for our next tip, let's talk about how elemental matching works in Borderlands 4. I hesitated putting this in the video at first, but a lot of people, more than I thought, still don't know about this. And for example, when the Hellwalker got changed to fire, many people thought it was a buff, when in actuality this was a nerf. And the reason why is because in Borderlands 4, element matching is more important than it ever has been before. Let me explain. Thanks to Mobalytics, here are these graphics which I'm going to flash on screen. Feel free to pause and read each one, but depending on the difficulty you play at in the game, different elements will have different use cases against certain enemies. Now, a few things are important to note here. First of all, when it comes to kinetic damage is always going to deal the same damage across shield, armor, and flesh. So that's always going to deal the same damage no matter what difficulty you're on. However, when it comes to stuff like radiation or fire, they will deal different damage to shield, armor, and health depending on the difficulty you are playing on. Now, if you are playing on Ultimate Vault Hunter ranks, the moment you get into those and start using them, it's going to utilize the hard mode settings. So if you're looking at this and you don't know which one that you are using right now, if you're on UVH ranks like UVH 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or even 6 in the future, just know that you are going to be on hard mode. So it's not going to benefit you to use fire against shield, and it won't benefit you to use kinetic against shield thinking you're getting a 200% bonus, because kinetic is neutral and in that case fire is not. So just be aware that matching your elements in Borderlands 4 is extremely important, and if you're not doing it, you are losing damage. Now, in a lot of cases, if you have a build such as my Blastoid Amon, which is up on the channel now, it's not going to matter too much if you're already deleting stuff. But if you're struggling to kill enemies, you need to look into this as one of the possible reasons. Okay, moving on to number 3. This isn't that big of a tip, but it is still very handy, and I find myself doing it on a day-to-day basis in Borderlands 4, and as such, I figured you guys might want to know about this also. So we're going to talk about vehicles and how you can use them to navigate the world a lot easier. So, for example, right up there we have a hay bale, and while I could absolutely get up to it by climbing on the roof and then going up here, there is a much easier way to use vehicles to get up there. So if you don't already know, when you get off of a vehicle in Borderlands 4 by pressing the E key, your character is going to do a jump off of the vehicle. You may also know that you can jump on a vehicle with the spacebar or your jump key. But did you know that if you press E after doing this, you'll get a much higher boost, and using this, you can double jump out of that boost to reach higher elevation. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's say I want to get up to that hay bale, and as we've established, I can't do that by going, straight up there. I have to go through the roof. Well, with vehicle jumping, all I have to do is jump, dismount, and then double jump, and then boom, I can get up here, and I didn't have to use the rooftop to do it. Now, you're probably thinking, this is an extremely niche tip, Epic, why are you telling me this? Well, because there are real cases in the world of Borderlands 4 where you'll probably want to know about this tip. So one of them, for example, is this bunker right here. You can see that this bunker is extremely difficult to get up to, and if I want to get up to here, I can't go from this direction. I would have to jump from here to over there and then go into it. However, with vehicle jumping, I will show you how you can use this to get there with completely skipping that part of traversal. So here we go. I'm going to get on my vehicle here. We're going to boost, then we're going to jump, dismount, double jump, and then boom, we are over here just like that. So you can use this to save a lot of time getting places, and this also works for canyons as well. Getting Eridium seems to be one of the biggest conversations in Borderlands 4 right now, because there isn't a really good method like we had in other games that doesn't require a lot of hoop jumping. So I'm going to show you basically the only method we have right now to farm Eridium, and that is via bounties. Now, you will need to get to the end of the game and complete all of those introductory endgame missions in order to do this. However, provided that you are at endgame, via bounties is going to be the method you want to do to get Eridium. Now, that is something that a few people already know, but what you probably don't know is that you'll get more Eridium from these missions depending on your Ultimate Vault Hunter rank. So over here, this is how you're going to farm these bounties. You're going to go to a town. For me, we are at the Howl right now, and there is a vile bounty. They're marked because they're purple. You accept it, and you track it, and you go and complete it. Now, when you've done that, don't worry about traveling around the world to find more. Just save quit, and then keep checking the bounty board. It's going to refresh the bounties on every save quit, and it's much faster. That's the best way to get the bounties to appear without having to travel all the way around the map, which would take longer. But the tip that I do want to show you guys today is that you do get more Eridium for completing these depending on your Ultimate Vault Hunter rank. I know a lot of people right now are saying there's no benefit to playing on UVH5, but that is just wrong, and I'm going to show you this right now. So for completing this vile bounty on UVH5, we got 400 Eridium, okay? So we got 400 Eridium, and now we are going to change our difficulty setting to UVH1. It's important that you will only see vile bounties if you're in UVH. You can't get them if you're playing on normal mode. Okay, so now we're on UVH1. I've accepted one of these vile bounties, and we're going to go and see how much Eridium we get for doing this comparatively on UVH1. Now, I have tested this a bunch, so spoiler alert, it's going to be a lot less. And as you can see here, when we take this guy down, we are going to get 240, which is definitely a lot less. Now, this isn't always going to be the same amount. Sometimes it's 220, sometimes it's 200. And similarly, for doing it on UVH5, sometimes I've had 420, 440. So it's not always going to be the same amount, but it does seem like you do get more if you complete it on higher levels, and that's from about an hour or two of testing on my end. So unless I got extremely lucky, I'd highly recommend you're doing those bounties on the highest level for the most amount of Eridium. Okay, but now that you have Eridium, let's talk about Phosphenes, aka Shinies. This is something that a lot of people really want in Borderlands 4 right now, and while I can't help you get the shiny you want reliably, I am going to show you probably the best way of guaranteeing a shiny each week in Borderlands 4. So this all relies on a feature at endgame known as Moxie's Big Encore. Now, if you're like me, you don't really care about facing the beefed up versions of these bosses, because that's all they are. It's just more powerful versions of a random boss every week. But there are still some people who didn't know that these Big Encore bosses have an increased dedicated drop chance. Now, I'm not talking like 2%, we're talking a big increase, and while we sadly don't have the exact number yet, we do know that it is a considerable boost to their dedicated drop rates. There are runs where you will get 2 or more dedicated drops from the boss, but reliably you should be every 1 to 3 runs getting the dedicated drop, which is a massive increase compared to other bosses in the game that don't have this. So why am I saying this is the best way to get shinies each week? Well, the reason why is because shinies work on chance. When a legendary drops, there is a chance to get a shiny. Now, internally, there is a data table value to increase that chance when you do the Big Encore, and while I'm not sure if it gets increased with these, this really doesn't matter too much, because if we assume that they're not nerfing that chance with these Big Encores, which I would hope they're not, it's going to benefit you more to do these Big Encores each week, because you are going to be seeing the dedicated more. I hope I'm not confusing you, so if you're still following along, what this obviously means is that more legendaries equals higher shiny chance, and just by farming this in the past day and a half, I can vouch for you that both Lewis and CZ, who I play with a lot, have both received shinies from this boss currently, and as you can see on my first run, I got 2 dedicated drops. Like, there's no smoke and mirrors here. It really is probably the best way to get shinies in the game right now, and nobody's talking about it. So I wanted to bring this up as number 1 because I think it's such a big tip. The only downside is, of course, you do need to go and grind a little bit of Eridium, but it's a small price to pay for shinies, which is a large price to pay with your time. And time is money, so if you can get those even faster with these big encore bosses, you should take advantage of that opportunity, because as you can see again, 2 runs in a row, 2 dedicated drops. This is all being recorded live. I'm jumping right now. This is live, so no smoky mirrors here, guys. That was 4 dedicated drops in the time I've been yapping. So that's going to do it for this video on tips you need to know for Borderlands 4. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like on the video, and if there's anything that I missed, whether it be stuff that I got wrong in this video or tips you think I should include in another video, let me know. I would greatly appreciate it. And also, we are trying to hit 80k on the channel, so if you would like to leave a sub, I'd greatly appreciate that too. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I will check you all in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.